Hey, let me show you some updates I've done to the Superglide. Completely changed this thing up, and then after we get through with that, talk to you about a big trip I got coming up here in just about a week. Here she is. As you can tell, it doesn't look like it did with the big FXRT fairing and those bags and the police seat. You may go, man, why did you change it if you had it set up quite like you did before back to this slender model? Well, let me just be completely honest with you. So what really happened was I had a bracket that broke. It was an insufficient bracket. It really didn't do much. I had my power vision on it. It came unglued. I've had it like that for a few years, but it come unglued. The power vision wasn't even on it anymore, and it just rattled crazy going down the road. Anytime you stopped, it was just a really loud sound. Even the cars would look to see what was going on. And honestly, I wasn't satisfied with the wiring that I had done on it. It was there, it was solid, secure, but it wasn't as sleek as it could be, and I had some other updates that I wanted to go do to that. So I decided to take it off, and if I was going to have it off, I still wanted to have this usable, take my time with fixing the fairing the way I wanted to. So I just put this thing back in a different mode, used parts I had laying around the shop. We'll go over those parts with you, and I'll show you what I did, why I've done it. I've left the floorboards on. I really like those, but this bike is still going to work very well, and probably even better in the heat of this summer. Okay, maybe the first thing that you might notice is this quarter fairing. I had this thing here on a Sportster that I'd built some years back. Matter of fact, that was the Sportster I traded for this, but before I traded, I took everything off of it. So this quarter fairing actually is pretty sleek, but it works really good at knocking the wind off of your chest and such. But at high rates of speed, like say interstate travel where you're out there and you're running 80 miles an hour, the wind blast over the helmet, it is not so bad, but it's solid. It puts some pressure on your forehead, but the wind rushing by the sides of your helmet really get to you. So I ended up taking this. This is a slip streamer. What I did is I came in here, I cut this out so that I could get some of that laminar effect of the wind going back up under here. Use some spacers to space that out. Took a heat gun, I heated it up. Don't know if you can really, you probably can see it from this angle. Heated it up, bent this side in and bent this one in to better match the sides of the fairing. I cut down the bar mounts that was originally on here to hold this off a little bit. I haven't finished it. I've been riding with it some, but it will eventually mar up. So I'm gonna put some padding there underneath it for it to sit on so it doesn't mess up the finish on that fairing. So that's the fairing setup that I've got on it to go with. Y'all know about the trouble I had with my shift linkage. Well, actually the shaft seal that goes there, and then this is finished product on that and went black. Now this black here is factory Harley-Davidson work here, and then this is where I painted it to match that. And the paint didn't come out just right, a little more wrinkled finish than what I originally wanted, and it didn't match. So I took some sandpaper, sanded that down, made that work. So that's one change I made. The other one is I decided to go with a different set of bars that didn't have so much pullback. My original bars had so much pullback that my elbows stayed tucked in tight to my side. Well, I have vents on my jacket there, and that kept them from working so well. So I went ahead and went with a tracker style bar, and it just naturally, when you grab the bar, it opens up your arms and the vents work well. Also, what I did when I did those bars, as you can tell right here, I run the wires back in through the handlebars and brought those out and run there, cleaned up the bars really well. Went back to the stock blinker setup for this fairing because it works better with that fairing. GPS mount, I really have never liked the mounts when I'll clamp them to my bars. They just, the only thing that I knew to do to mount them and have it right there in my line of sight. But I've really enjoyed this setup since I've changed that. It's mounted to the bar riser back here on the back, and then the ram mount arm comes up from the back, and then I'm able to line that up right with my speedometer. That works out really well. Went back to the Corbin seat, which is really a comfortable seat. And I went to these smaller bags here made by Happy Trail. All I did was I cut them to fit the same angle as the shock so I could keep them fit in really tight. I took them to a metal fab shop and they welded them up for me, and then I came and dressed the welds up. Like, all of this is the original powder coat, but just right in here in the front face of this, I used the Predator bedliner spray, and it really matched the powder coat very well. And I really don't have enough time before my next trip to be able to go have it repowder coated, so I went with that. The lids were originally yellow. I used that same bedliner spray. If you can get in close, I think you can see, like right here and here, some of the texture is a little different. I was in a rush, went heavy. The can got kind of, I went heavy with the coat. The can was getting empty, and when those cans get empty, they kind of splatter a little bit. So that's what that is. If it bothers me after a while, then I'll change that out. Another thing I went with is the Moose Racing. This bag works really good, waterproof. It'll expand more than what I've got here, but it's a quick disconnect. So if I'm in a motel room, which I'm traveling with a group of people, and we'll be doing a motel and lodging for our lodging, won't be doing any camping there. So what I've got is, with this bag, I can carry everything I need in my motel room. All of my clothes, toiletry items, all my necessities are here. I've got 4 of these quick disconnect buckles, and the whole thing comes off. Say I want to carry some extra camping gear on top, I've got these big, thick, heavy duty, you can see them here, D-rings, and you can see the extra room I have here. That allows me to expand this all the way up. But if I've got it clamped down tight, then I can loosen those up, throw a jacket or something underneath it. Now this here is filled with extra waterproof gear. It's got all of my tools, tire pump, tire repair kit, everything that I should need regardless of what happens on the road is in this one. And then this one here is empty, so I'll just kind of show you how that works. I've got my little bottle in there, but you can see the inside of this, what that looks like. This will hold all of my cold weather riding gear, because we're going to leave here. Highs are going to be 103 degrees, but whenever we get that back into New Mexico, we'll be leaving out in the mornings. It'll be low 50s, maybe even high 40s in some places, so I can put extra layers there for cold weather riding gear. This is the original color of these top bins, and you can see here kind of the powder coat overspray on those. And then here on the top, you can lock them just with one key. I really like the way that Happy Trails did this tie off, because they bolt in, and you can see there they got the little nut certs that are in the bag. It makes it really easy to tie them on. They're heavy duty, very thick. So between this bag and the other bag on top, I can put all of my camping equipment. So, you know, I like to hammock camp. My hammock, my shelter top, or fly, whatever you'd like to call it, will easily fit in a bag. I've got a bag that loops into here and here that sits up on this. They'll easily go there, and then the rest of that can go here. Got plenty of room for that. Now here in the back, because as soon as I get back from my next trip, I got another trip going out. It's going to be a 4,000 mile round trip, maybe a little more, depending on what our country does as far as opening up some of the national parks and stuff. I may go all the way up to Glacier, but I got this just for some safety. I like to run the back roads, and sometimes you can run 100+ miles without finding gas, and this just gives me a little bit of extra comfort in that. Now, probably the last modification really that I made was this dumped. If it's pushing oil out these breathers, it would dump right into the air cleaner. So what I've done is, these are little 1/4-inch barbs right here. I put clear line on them because I want to see what's coming through there, and then it goes back in there into a Y and goes around. You can see that here as well. So that goes around, comes around the motor, and then my catch can is over here on this side. So here's the catch can. I got this breather here. I hope that works like the way I've got it set up there with the breather on top. If not, it's always a better idea to run a hose farther up. If it's up to me, I'd like to run a hose when I have more time, run it back up the frame down here into the tunnel of the tank, and maybe put the breather back in there on top of the motor somewhere. But this will allow me to gauge what's going on. And then on the very bottom, it's got a drain with a ball valve. Right back there's the lever. I can flip that lever down and drain that whenever I need to without having to take the top off, and it's split right here so you can unscrew it. Really a little neat deal. I found that on Amazon. I think it was like 28 bucks. It was the right size. The ones I've been using are larger than that, and then there was really no place to put it on this bike that looked good. This isn't the perfect place, but being so much smaller, it's not horrible. So the Predator mount that I've got on, that's worked well for me. It took out the excessive vibration that I was having, and maybe has just a touch more vibration overall. And then these are for quick incidentals. What I keep in here is go-to tools. I've got Arlen said screwdrivers. This is a neat little deal. I don't know if y'all have ever thought about this. I got in a bind with somebody I was riding with, and their battery went dead. They left their key on and they couldn't get their bike started, and it was one of the newer bikes that's got all the computer aids and everything on it. And I was trying to figure out what we were going to do, nobody else around, and this little deal I found it in my bag, and I was able just to take and plug this in to my battery charger port on my battery, and get that other bike close enough, clamp this onto their battery, start my bike, and just let it idle for a little while to charge their battery. And then obviously for safety reasons, I killed my motorcycle, but left this connected up, gave them enough juice to get their motorcycle kicked back off. So that worked out really good, a handy deal. Now, if it's a worst case scenario than that, I've got my jumper cables in the bottom of this bag that I always carry with me. It just so happened that day I didn't have any saddlebags or nothing, just this bag. And then this up here, I got incidentals. I carry a baseball cap that can be shoved down in there. Quick grab things here on these outside cases. Other things there in that center pouch. I've got some screwdrivers in here that I use to work on. So anyway, that's a quick overview of what's happening to the Superglide. The West Texas run went really well, so getting this set up to go to New Mexico. From there, I'll come home, head up, do an event in Idaho. Going to cross over through Montana, probably do Beartooth Pass, come back down into Wyoming, take that upper highway. I think that's 21A or something like that, as we go up. So that 21A that we'll take, that goes up through the top, really cool road. Been up there before. Take that, drop back down into Sturgis. From Sturgis, I'll head home. We'll be interested to see what Sturgis is going to be like this year with everything that's been going on in the country. So I'll see what kind of footage I can get while we're doing that. But that's a trip that I'm looking forward to. I'm going to meet up in Oklahoma to go to New Mexico. We're going to ride over with some other friends. They'll be my wife will be riding the BMW. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 motorcycles going with us, and 1, 2, 3, 4 couples. So there'll be 8 people that are going to go on that trip from there, and then we'll be meeting some more friends when we get over into Red River, New Mexico. So till next time, this is Augie Outdoors.